Good morning and welcome to Morning Vibe. My name is Remy Majala and thank you so much for joining us today. Now, today is Spotlight Thursdays and we have a familiar face which you know very well. But I want to ask you, have you registered for the Stanchart Marathon? I told you I was running, or rather walking or jogging, whichever, but I am doing, I chose the 10 kilometers and I'm trying to, of course, do with my colleagues, and we're all going to register this, right? So we're also going to make sure that we do this thing, right? So these are 10 kilometers which I'll be going for because it's something I can manage and work out and work, you know, do all those fun things. And also we have the 21 kilometers, you have the 42 kilometers, we have the 5 kilometers. I'm telling you, there's so many things you can choose from. So I'm asking you again, register. And of course you can go to the website, that is www.nairobimarathon.com to do the registration, and hopefully, actually, I would love to see you there, you know? So let me tell you the colleagues who I have been pushing to do this. I have my colleague called Kasavuli, who is my director right now. She's the one who speaks in my ear. We have Brenda, we have Eddie, we have Clarence, we have Brandy, right? We have so many people who I will be doing this thing with. Even the co-host who was here before, the host, the anchor doing New Dawn, that is Alan. You know, all of us need to be doing this thing. So we're all, you know, gonna go and do this. So make sure you go to the website, that is www.nairobimarathon.com, and register for the Stanchart Marathon. There's so much to choose from, and there are very many, you know, variety of races, of course, that you can pick out. Like I said, 42 kilometers, 21 kilometers, 10 kilometers, and 5 kilometers. And you can do it with your friends, with your colleagues, and it's going to be a fun affair. It's going to be a chill affair. You can have activities to do after, even bring your kids on, right? There'll be things on the side that they can do to participate. And if it's been your dream to do this thing, remember, it is where you want to be. Right, so that mentioned, like I mentioned to you, this is Spotlight Thursdays, and I have with me on set a very lovely young lady who was, you know, rather who had a leading role on a show that you know only too well, and she's the one and only Vanessa Okeo. Thank you so much for joining us, my dear.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I think you have such a cute face, very young.
Jeans.
Jeans, good jeans.
Yeah.
Thank God for that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she was a lead on the show, what is it called? Second Family.
Yes.
Second Family.
Yes.
And she's here to tell us about her journey, how this all began for her up until this point.
Okay.
Right? So let's just take it from, you know, presently. How did you feel, you know, having that role, and it is your first big role?
Big role, my first very huge role. It's not my first lead role, but the biggest role I've had so far. When I got the call, they didn't call me to tell me, oh, you've gotten the role like the rest. They just called me and they were like, okay, so we have, you know how you go for auditions, you can also be asked to audition again. So they sent me a script and then they were like, can you self-tape this and then send it to us by end of day? And it had been like a month since I auditioned for the role, so I had forgotten about it. I was like, okay, probably I'm not like picked or something like that, because it was really early on in my career. So I auditioned, I sent it, and I just completely forgot about it. I thought I was auditioning for an extra or something. I didn't think it was the lead. Yeah. So I sent the tape. The next day they are trying to get to me, but I'm just like, you know, I feel like this is going to be bad news. I don't want to answer the phone. And then I just finally answered it. And they're like, oh yeah, you've gotten the lead role for this Showmax series and stuff. It was like, oh, you've gotten the lead role for Second Family. That's what we're shooting and stuff like that. And I was like, oh.
I see. That was quite the thing. You know, when you have such a role, the character can be very strong and also very insane for that matter. And then there's your personality. And one of the things that actors are always told, like, remove yourself from there, but you can pick things from your life that can also influence or better the character for that matter. And, you know, there are things that, like you mentioned in one of your, you know, articles that was done on you, that, man, this young woman is brilliant. She has a master's, but what kind of reasoning, you know, does she possibly have? You know?
Yeah, I used to read the script sometimes and I get really mad. I'd even call the writer and be like, what is going on with this girl? Like you're saying, she's 25, she has a master's degree, she's brilliant, she's not stupid. So the decisions she's making, I was just like, for someone who did a master's degree, this is just bad. Yeah,
Right.
so it used to frustrate me a lot. I used to look at it and sometimes on set I'd just be like, after a scene I'd be like, oh God, I'm so done with this girl. What's her problem?
I see.
Yeah.
Right. You know, one of the things that is quite robust about being an actor, actress for this matter, is all the emotions that you also go through, the ups and downs of having to portray a character, the triggers that you can get also. You know, did you
Yeah.
have any of such moments?
I did. I remember season 1, episode 18. It was a bit after now I'm mad at my other family and I moved out, and I had a rape scene. That has to be the hardest scene I've ever shot, because you know, you have to get yourself into the scene. You have to be like, okay, this is not Vanessa anymore. This is Cindy being raped. So you look at the journey of Cindy when the story started to where she is. So you just like merge into another being, and you're like, okay, so this is what is happening. And the guy looked like a serious, sorry to say, but he looked like a serious landlord who was ready to beat me up and rape me. So we had to do like 7 takes of the same thing, the same emotion, going over it. And it got to a point where I could not continue shooting. It had gotten into my head to the point that after the director said cut, I kept crying. I just continued crying. And I'm like, okay, I think we need to wrap and go home. This is too much. It was a lot for me. I couldn't continue shooting.
I see.
Yeah.
But now let's take it back now. How did this begin for you? Why is acting, you know, your purpose, if I may say so, or your goal for this matter? Yeah.
So I'm someone who likes to read a lot. I read books, and most times when I read books, I just like pick a character out of it and say, okay, so I'm imagining myself as this character. So when it came to auditions, friends were sending me auditions. The first one was Sky Girl Spa. They sent me that one. A lot of people sent it to me, and I was like, should I do it, should I not? I wasn't so sure, because I was like, I felt like I wasn't properly trained for it. So when I auditioned, again, with the hopes of not getting it, I was just like, I'm doing this for fun. If I get it, good. If I don't, that's okay. I had to audition 5 times for it, I remember, because it was just, you're being shortlisted. So it got to a point you're like, the shortlisting, imagine getting to the last process, and then you're like, okay, we went to the different person. It will be so heartbreaking. So I didn't put my hopes very high. And when I got the role, it was really fulfilling, because I did something that's really close to my heart. The things they stand for, the things they're all about, is something that I also stand for. And it was really amazing for me to do it. But that was not my very, very, very first one. I had done some minor roles for a film called Mino, and I'd also made a cameo in Single Kiasi.
Okay, I see.
Yes.
Now, let's go back forward a bit. Now, when you get into such roles that demand a lot from you, how do you de-roll? I remember back in the day, I did a little bit of that, just a little, and it was really hard. I remember when the director would say you need to come out of your character at times, and others would choose to go and stay in their character and forget, you know, if you called Michelle, don't call me Michelle, like call me, you know, Cindy. You know, I want to be Cindy for the day, you know, so how do you get out yours?
Oh, it takes a lot. It takes a lot for you to, also it's more of your surrounding, your family. My family really holds it down for me. My parents, they're just like, all this that you have going on around you, remember who you are, remember where you come from, remember the values you hold. So after set, sometimes you go home and you're still like, I'm still Cindy. And you find yourself just being her. And then my parents usually just,
They can clock it.
Yeah, and then they're like, just remember, you're Vanessa. This is your house, we're your family, these are your siblings. All you're doing there is just, that's a fictional character, come back. But as an actor, it takes a lot of me just after set, and let's say after we've wrapped, I just go and do the things I love. I travel, I visit museums, I read a book to just wear off the character and de-roll.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is a defining moment that you can say you've had in your career? Is it this role, or is it something else that you're like, wow, this I'll never forget for, you know, the rest of my life?
I feel
I know
like
you're pretty young.
okay, I feel like when it got to Second Family, of course, it got to a point where I just clocked and I'm like, I'm on set with Brian Ogola, I'm on set with Ian Bugwa, Helen Kelly, Mumbi Minor, who else? Who am I forgetting? Nick Ndeda. I was just like, oh my God. This early on in my career, it hasn't even been a year. I'm working with such big names. I just sat down and I was like, wow, this is huge. This is huge for me. And every day it just like hits me again because I have a show coming up and I've worked with some amazing names in the industry, have Wakio there, Aziad. I'm just like, wow, I'm so blessed. Every day I wake up and I'm just like, this is not something kidogo, this is a huge deal for an actor.
Right. And you know, when you work with such big names, you're either intimidated or inspired, or you do not know what to do with yourself. You know, you have the out-of-body experience, the imposter syndrome all happening, everything at the same time. So how do you reel yourself in and say, okay, I'm going to learn? Because that's what you say, you know, that you're learning from these characters. So how's the process for you?
Again, going back to Second Family, because that was a really long-term project and I got to be the lead. And at first, it was nerve-wracking, I'm not gonna lie. I just sat there before the show came and I was like, okay, are these people going to like me? Are they going to like my character? Are they going to relate? Like, what are they going to say? First, it was mostly about my acting skills. I was like, am I good enough? Because of course, I'm working with this really big names in the industry, and I'm looking at myself, I'm just like, I'm starting. So people are obviously going to compare. They're going to be like, what's wrong? Who brought this girl here? So that was nerve-wracking for me. And I had like, even when it came out and Brian Ogola and Nick Ndeda were like, oh my God, you're doing amazing. I still had that. Are you sure you're just trying to be nice to me?
Yeah.
But when now I got feedback from people and the fans who used to watch it, I was like, oh my God, I'm doing amazing. So on set, I would have people like the late Charles Souda. I'd ask for tips. I'd be like, so for this scene, apart from the director, of course, I'd be like, if I have a scene with them, I was like, how did you imagine this scene? Like for me, I imagined like this. And for you, what do you think I should change? So it was a learning process for me for the 8 months that we shot. I kept asking for tips. I used to stay back after I've wrapped to just watch how they're doing their scenes and learn and ask them. So like, if you need to display this type of emotion, where do you take yourself? What do you do? It was mostly a learning process for me as we shot the show. And I'm really happy because it helped me improve as an actor.
I see. What has surprised you the most about being in the creative film industry? Because we've had so much progress. And I think over time, given that you say you read a lot, you saw, you know, the industry was this way and now it's different in this way, right? So what is the thing that shocked you the most now as you experienced it?
As I started right now, moving on.
Yeah, moving forward, yeah, especially on this long-term project that you had. Yeah.
It's the embracing of new artists. Like, you know, Kitambo, they used to have the, oh, you know, you only find certain people on TV. And I kind of expected them to treat me differently and be like, who are you? Where are you from, you know?
Yeah, like the gatekeeping, like maybe the doors would not be open. That's what you didn't expect.
They were so welcome. They were so nice. Mumbi was such a sweetheart and said, Helen Kelly. Like, I call Helen Kelly mom till this day and Ian Bugwa dad. Like, there's nothing more to that. They just, I've saved them that as my on my contact list. It's just like mom and dad, my second mom and dad. It was so wholesome to be. So more to go. think this is not for me. I wanted to go home, but I just stayed.
I hope you met him again, so that you can have the same conversation. Did you?
I've never met him, but he has texted me on Instagram and it's like, wow. Because according to most people, it's like, how is it happening so fast for you? How is everything happening? For most people, it's like, I'm doing everything so fast. Everything is just coming like easy. But I'm saying it's not easy. It's never easy. People do not know what you went through or how hard you worked to get to where you are.
And what is your experience in terms of what you say you went through? You know, because for many people it looks different and every experience is unique. Yeah. So what's yours?
You know, let's go back to when I did Second Family. Most people thought that was my first show. I had never been on set or anything like that. But again, I had done Sky Girls. I had done Single Kiasi, and I had done a short film called Mino. So I was leading in Sky Girls, and I was supporting in Single Kiasi. So I knew a few things about, you know, working on set and being like that. So coming here, they thought it was handed. They thought this person just called you and gave you the role. How? But I wasn't even known like that at the time. So I worked for this. I actually auditioned. All the roles that I've gotten, no one has ever called me and told me, come. I always audition. And I go there, there's no favoritism, there's no, okay, so you're Vanessa, let's give you this role. No, it's your Vanessa, give us your best. If this is not your best, we'll get another person. I've gotten so many no's. From the yeses I've got so many no's. And when I go to auditions, I make sure I show up as my best self. Like, I give my all.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's been paying off.
I see.
Yeah.
Now, when you prepare for anything or role, or you're practicing, because you know there's always the traditional, I'm standing in the mirror with your hairbrush or I don't even know, whatever it is you use, and you go into character, whichever character you may choose. What does that world look like for you when you prepare for imaginary roles and things that you'd want to see yourself in? You know, what do you do when the world does not see?
Let me talk about the shows that I have coming. There's one that's really close to my heart. I was given the script and I immediately fell in love with it. That was one that I had to go to the mirror and be like, you know, mirror on the wall, here I am, talk to me. Because I needed the emotions to come out right, because the script itself is something me as a dark-skinned girl growing up, I relate to. And I feel like when it comes out, every dark-skinned girl will relate to it, because it's something really close to my heart, something I've been through. So when I was reading the script, I just had to go and be like, okay, so what's her name? It's not Vanessa anymore. When I look into the mirror, I talk to myself, I'm like, okay, so we're not Vanessa, we are this character. So let's talk like we are her. Where is she coming from? You always need to know where you're coming from as an actor. When I'm sent for like a scene to go to audition with, I usually call the casting director and I'm like, can you tell me a bit about where this character is coming from, this scene to where she is right now, what's her background? At least it helps when I go to auditions, because that's what happens on set. When you're trying to do a role, when you're doing a role and you need to cry, you need to show certain emotions, the director comes and tells you, so you're coming from here, this is what, and I feel like it has helped me, especially when I audition, when you have a very small scene, you don't know anything, so you can do things from being happy to laughing, but you maybe at that time you needed to cry. Or
So you just remove the emotions.
So you have to consult and be like, so what's going on? Where's she coming from? What type of person is she? What's happening to this moment that she's saying these words, and to who? What kind of relationship does she have with this certain character that you're talking about? So it helps, but I feel like most people don't want to ask certain questions, because I've met people in auditions and they're like, okay, so what's going on? People don't do research like that, I would say.
Or do they feel that they would be, if they asked you to be giving their information, or they're cheating on quote unquote an exam, you know? What do you think it is?
I don't, for the casting directors that I've worked with, at first I was really nervous to ask, but I said, I need to know. Because when I'm reading this scene, I'm thinking of so many ways to bring it out. I'm thinking I should be happy. I should be, it wasn't making sense at the moment. So I was like, I need to know where I'm coming from as an actor. I need to know what's going on in this specific moment, you know? So people are just afraid of asking questions. And trust me, casting directors love it when you ask, even directors, even on set, when you ask questions, it's good because it means you're interacting with the character. You actually want to know about the character. You're interested. Yeah.
And exactly how do you harness emotions, especially the ones which are not good for our scene? You know, you can do whatever it is you need to do when you're happy. But when you're in a fix, for whatever reason, God forbid, how do you use it positively? Because I think that's just a pickle by itself.
So I feel like for most projects that I've worked on, I usually have history with the character, like the one in Second Family, to the rape scene where I needed to cry a lot. That one I did research. I started reading about people who have been assayed, listening to the testimony and all that to bring out the character. It was hard. It was really heavy. It got to me, and I'm a really emotional person. So as I listened to them, as I read, I was just like, what's going on? I would find myself crying. So in the moment, you're just in character, but you're thinking, okay, what I read, what happened to that person? It worked for me. I don't know if it worked for anyone else, but I'm like, what happened? Yeah, this is happening to me right now. So sometimes maybe I just start overthinking, and when it happens, I'm just looking at that person like, oh my God, is he going to actually do it? I forget the cameras are here. I'm just like, oh wow, it looks like he's actually going to beat me. So I get in character with that. And when it requires me to do like cry,
Yeah.
I take myself to a really dark place.
Okay.
Like really, really dark.
Are you not afraid of not being able to leave it when you need to?
So
How do you leave that? Seriously, like, you know, triggers are really bad.
yeah, they are bad. When I was on set, mostly I tell the director, so I want to take myself here. And after, I want you to take me aside and talk to me, like try to pull me out of it. So for another scene I did for the show, I had to tell them, I want to take myself here. And they were like, are you sure? Like, is it going to be heavy? I even feel like I'm going to cry right now. They're like, is it going to be too heavy? I'm like, well, I feel like I have to do it. Because if I don't, it will look like I'm pretending. Because I remember there's a scene also on the previous show that I had to cry and I didn't take myself anywhere. The director came up to me and was like,
You know you're not doing what you need to do.
He just said,
I can see you.
Yeah, I said,
Yeah.
what are you doing? And I was like, okay, give me time, give me time. So that's why sometimes before those kind of scenes, you need to exclude yourself, just take yourself in another dimension and then come back when you're ready.
I see. Hold on to that thought.
Yeah.
We're taking a short break. We'll be back with more of this conversation. Do stay with us.
DJ Blackie. K24 TV, Mix Master.